In this music production tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a Techno Stab or a Techno Horn in Serum. Let's get right into it. So this is my track, Warehouse Dancehall. I'm a huge fan of like Moombahton and world music, but I'm also a huge fan of like warehouse style techno. So I decided to combine the two genres together. So I'm gonna play you a little bit of it. I know some shameless self-promotion, and then we're gonna get into the Techno Stab. So I'm gonna play this right here. So you get the idea, but I'm mainly going to focus in this video, like I said, on the Techno Stab or Techno Horn. I don't know if there's an exact name to it, but it sounds like this, soloing it. So let's go here. You hear this a lot in so many techno records, even in some house records and other genres. Here's how you do it. So I'm first going to go to Serum. We're going to get into these effects later. I'm going to turn these off actually for now. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Analog and then MB Saw. And then when this pulls up, I'm gonna probably have the unison at 1 typically. So it's to sound like this. So already we have that kind of like nice little gritty sound. I like the sound of that when it comes to the MB Saw. I'm moving the unison up to about 7. Right? And then the detune up to about here. It doesn't really matter, maybe like 0.31 is what I had it at. So now it sounds like this. So already we kind of have that main sound that we want. Or the makings of, like the main foundation. Next thing what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to oscillator B, turn this on. I'm gonna go to analog and then saw rounded down here at the bottom. Again, similar to here, 3 for unison because I don't want it to be super, super wide. And then for detune about 0.13. So now we have this. I like that sound a little bit more than just this. This just adds a little bit more to it, and I like the overall feel of it. Next, I'm gonna go to effects. I'm only gonna really add in 2 here. I did a lot down here in Ableton. You can use, like I said, reverb here if you want, but I'm gonna add in hyper, and I have the rate and detune here. So I have about 19% when it comes to the rate, 15% for the detune, 7 for unison, and I max out in the mix. So now I have this. And then, of course, I love having some distortion on this to make it just a bit more gritty and more like aggressive, so to speak. And now I add this on, so now we have the main sound. We have kind of the main sound that I want. Now let's add some effects to it. First thing I added, of course, is a sausage fattener. I don't know why the GUI looks like this now. Like after updating Ableton, this is how it looks. So somewhere in the corner. So I have to go up here to adjust this. But it's at 16, what was that? 16%, I believe. This saturates it a lot more. So now it sounds like this. And of course, a lot louder. And then, if, like say, if you don't have sausage fattener, you can also go to audio effects. Then go to saturator. My favorite kind of main preset is a bit warmer, so you could use that in place of sausage fattener if you don't have it. And lastly, and I feel like especially for techno, we have to go to reverb and delays. I did a couple cool things here. Now, first off, I parallel processed my reverb, delays, and dry mix. This is how you do it. If I'm gonna make this from scratch, I'm gonna open up reverb, I'm gonna right click and go to group. Then I'm gonna go here, and I'm going to create chain, and then put this at 100%. What I'm doing is I have 2 chains now. This is also referred to as parallel processing in some cases, where I have one completely wet chain, which is 100% reverb, and then I have one completely dry chain, which is nothing on it at all. So if I solo this, you're now only gonna hear the reverb part. And now if I solo this, you're gonna hear just the regular sound without anything on it. Right? Now playing them together. And this allows them to affect both individually, which is very, very useful as it did here. So the first thing I did, I'm gonna turn this on now, is I created the reverb, dry chain, and a delay, which I'll get to in a little bit. And I turned all these off, like the spin, low cut, high cut, all that kind of stuff. I wanted my reverb pretty straightforward with a high decay. So the reverb lasts a long time. I find, especially for like techno and certain other genres, it almost adds this nice little like cinematic or intense effect, so to speak. Next, I added an EQ8, as you can see here. So if I solo this, I'm gonna mute this for now. I rolled off the high end just so I had like kind of the mid-range here. Right, so I really had that mid-range continuing on in this super long reverb. With this, I thought that the high end had too much hiss to it, so I just kind of rolled the high end off here, just using this section. And then what I did is I added in wider. This is a completely free plugin. I've already reviewed it on this channel, and I max out the wideness. That way what I'm doing is I'm making just the reverb part super wide, but not anything else. This is why parallel processing is so useful among a lot of cases, because I'm not taking the main element sound and making it wider. I'm making the reverb wider. So as opposed to it being like this, I'll play it for you. I now have this, which you're gonna hear in a second. Now I have this. And I think with wider, I maxed it out 200%. So if I play this for you, show you how it kind of sounds like in real time. Right? It also uses a bit like of some like phasing algorithms as well. So what's good about that to me is it kind of creates this like stadium style feel, like a big concert stadium, which creates a very unique atmosphere. Then now going down here, I have the dry chain, didn't really do anything. Then lastly, 100% wet when it comes to the delay. I put it on sync and then just on 3, and then feedback 50%, which I believe is the default. And then I turn down the delay 8 decibels because I want it to be more subtle in the background. If it was in your face and like say, just as loud as every other element, it'd almost be annoying, I feel like. So in this case, showing you. Right? So it's a lot more subtle in the background. So now with everything, sounds like this soloed. And then, of course, lastly, the most important part in the mix.